The story starts with Mikami Satoru, an office worker, who is talking to his colleague when he is suddenly stabbed to death by a murderer running on the streets. He regrets dying like this since he hasn't had a girlfriend yet. But he doesn't know that he is about to get reincarnated into another world. When he awakens in a cave of a strange fantasy realm, he discovers that he has been resurrected as a slime, and with the power of a great sage, he has obtained a variety of skills that were created from his last thoughts before dying. While exploring the cave and gaining new skills along the way, with the help of the great sage, the slime discovers an old dragon named Veldora, who has been sealed in the cave for the last 400 years. We get to know that Veldora was defeated by the hero, and she sealed Veldora using a skill called Unlimited Imprisonment. Veldora informs Rimuru that people from other worlds come to this world, either being summoned by a large group of magicians or by getting reincarnated, and it seems like Rimuru has been reincarnated into this world. After talking and getting to know each other, they quickly became friends. The slime is now given the name Rimuru Tempest by the dragon Veldora Tempest, as in this world, monsters evolve and become powerful only after getting their name. In return, Rimuru promises to break his seal by swallowing him inside his body and analyzing the seal thoroughly. After this encounter, Rimuru goes back to exploring the cave and gains more skills from killing and devouring other monsters like Black Serpent, Armosaurus, Evil Centipede, and Black Spider. He stumbles upon a door where he sees 3 adventurers opening it, and using stealth magic they are about to explore the cave. Thus Rimuru escapes the cave without being noticed by them. Suddenly, Rimuru meets a tribe of goblins, who know by their instinct that Rimuru is strong and therefore plead for their protection against a group of direwolves that has been attacking their village. After discussing, Rimuru accepts their request and starts working together with the goblins. With the help of Rimuru's skills, he helps them in healing the injured goblins, and then they set up a trap for the direwolves. When the night arrives, so do the direwolves, and with Rimuru's assistance and the traps that they set earlier, they are somehow able to attack the direwolves. Rimuru warns them to turn back, but after they refuse to do so, Rimuru attacks and kills their commander. Rimuru mimics the dead commander by devouring him and forcing the direwolves to submit. Rimuru then convinces the goblins and direwolves that there is no reason to fight among each other. Instead, they should try to coexist together. To make things easier, Rimuru named all the goblins and the direwolves since they didn't have any names and it was really confusing. But Rimuru suddenly falls asleep for 3 days owing to the exhaustion of his power. When he wakes up, he realizes that the names he gave to the goblins and dire wolves used up his magicules, which made him unconscious. He also learns that naming a monster in this world causes them to evolve. Rimuru soon realizes that the goblins lack the abilities necessary to make houses and clothes. Thus, Rimuru, along with a small party of goblins and dire wolves, travel to the village of Dworgen in order to ask the dwarf craftspeople for assistance in building up their village. When Rimuru and Gobdu arrive at Dworgen, they end up fighting some thugs, which led to their arrest and becoming a prisoner. But after giving recovery potions to Kaido to heal their men who were attacked by monsters in a dungeon, Rimuru is finally released. With the help of Kaido, Rimuru meets Kaijin the blacksmith and the 3 dwarf brothers, Dord, Garm, and Miad. And in return for Kaijin's assistance in providing craftsmen for the goblin village, Rimuru helps Kaijin complete an order for longswords using the magisteel ore he had collected in the cave. Since they thought that it was impossible to deliver the swords on the due date, they were all shocked by how easily Rimuru completed the swords. And as a thank you, they invite Rimuru to an elf pub. At the elf pub, where Rimuru and the dwarves are celebrating, a fortune-telling elf foretells Rimuru's future and shows him a vision about a girl and 5 of her students. Suddenly, Vesta the minister, who actually placed the order for the longswords in order to bully Kaijin, shows up and starts insulting Rimuru of being a monster. This angers Kaijin and he attacks him out of rage, which leads to the arrest of both him and Rimuru as well as the other dwarves. While in the prison, the dwarves had already made up their mind to work for Rimuru and thus they happily accept his offer. During the trial, due to corrupted evidence, Kaijin and his men had to be exiled by the hero king Gazel Dwargo, even though he knows Kaijin since a long time. After returning to Tempest, Kaijin's men work as artisans for Rimuru in the goblin village. Gazel sends a ninja to pursue Rimuru in secret after discovering his connections to Veldora. He also banished the minister named Vesta for his dishonest behavior since his actions made them lose relationship with Kaijin and the slime called Rimuru. After finding about Veldora's absence from the cave, Guildmaster Fuse orders Irene, Cavil, and Jito, the gang of adventurers, to search the entire forest and report any changes that might occur after Veldora's absence. While the three were bawling their eyes out for some rest, after exploring the cave, a masked girl named Shizu approaches them and requests to join them on their journey to the forest of Jura. And with a brief introduction about each other, they agree to let her travel with them. After entering into the forest, the gang encountered giant ants that started chasing and trying to kill them. Shizu tries to fight off the ants, but when they get into difficulties, Rimuru saves them with the Black Thunder attack. Shizu's mask flies off and Rimuru remembers Shizu from the elf's vision he saw at the pub. Getting to the goblin village, they exchange names and get to know each other. After that, Shizu and Rimuru went alone to talk, since she could tell that Rimuru also came from Japan. Shizu explains that she was summoned to this planet from Japan during the time of a war. Rimuru, wanting Shizu to know that war was over in Japan, talks about his memories of a contemporary, tranquil country and shows her images of the present world. Rimuru is still unaware that Shizu has been made into the vessel of fire spirit Ifrit by her summoner, Demon Lord Leon Cromwell. Shizu has a nightmare where she remembers the agony she felt when Ifrit murdered her friend, thinking her as an enemy. Shizu is about to depart with the adventurers when Ifrit seizes control of her once more and attack everyone in sight and tries to destroy the village. Rimuru and the group try to defend, but after finding his water attacks to be unsuccessful, Rimuru mimics Irene's ice magic spell to defeat Ifrit's minions. The battlefield soon turns hot due to Ifrit's magic, but since Rimuru is immune to fire attacks, he doesn't face any challenge and uses his predator ability to defeat and devour Ifrit. Rimuru is also successful in separating it from Shizu in the process. Rimuru hears Shizu's story, in which Rimuru learns about the hero, who adopted her and guided her down the correct path after saving her from Demon Lord Leon Cromwell. But due to some reason, the hero suddenly disappeared one day without a trace. She also mentions about the kids that she trained during her journey and asks Rimuru to save them. Shizu, who is convinced that her life is about to end, begs Rimuru to consume her since she does not want her body to stay in this world. Rimuru agrees to her and promises to look for information about Leon Cromwell in order to deliver Shizu's parting words to him. Later, we see a masked guy named Gelmud recruits an orc named Geld with the purpose of bringing about a big tragedy in the forest of Jura. Rimuru grows accustomed with the new body and skills he inherited from Shizu after devouring her. Suddenly, the goblins and the direwolves were attacked by a group of ogres who believe that Rimuru has ordered the orcs to attack and destroy their village. Rimuru arrives after getting the message from Ranga, and even though Rimuru tries to reason with them that there might be a misunderstanding, the ogres still continue to fight him, but they get defeated very easily by Rimuru due to his skills and fighting abilities that he gained from the cave and by devouring Shizu. Following an outburst of strength and skills, Rimuru is able to persuade the ogres that he is not their enemy and extends an invitation for them to visit their village for further discussion. After reaching the goblin village, they all got to know each other, and during that conversation, they learned that the orcs that invaded and destroyed the ogre village were led by a masked Magian. And out of 300 ogres, they are the only 6 ogres that managed to stay alive. After considering the possibilities, Rimuru thinks that their village might also be attacked. So in order to help each other, Rimuru offers the ogres to join him as his subordinates in return for food, clothing, shelter, and protection against the orcs. They agree to a temporary alliance until the orcs are defeated. Rimuru names the ogres Benimaru, Shuna, Xian, Hakiru, Sawe, and Kirabi, causing them to evolve from ogres now to Kijins. Meanwhile, the Lizardmen's ruler, after getting information about an orc lord in command of the thousands of orcs heading their way, quickly orders his son, Gabaru, to seek the allegiance of goblins in order to fight against the orcs. Benimaru and the other monsters along with the dwarves had been living with Rimuru for a few days now when Gabaru arrives in Rimuru's village to recruit everyone to fight against the orcs under his command. But when the Lizardmen group leader named Gabaru disrespects Rimuru, Gobta is brought in to fight him by promising to give Gobta a new sword if he wins or else eat Xian's cooking for breakfast. Gobta effortlessly defeats him with the skills he has acquired recently, causing the Lizardmen to flee. Later in the day, when Rimuru is discussing with his councilmen about the orcs and their invasion, a dryad named Trainee approaches Rimuru, requesting him to defeat the orc lord. The orcs, according to Trainee, have been subjected to the orc lord's special skill, called Starved, which makes them constantly hungry, irrational, and willing to consume anyone in order to acquire more power. After discussing it with the village elders, Rimuru agrees to Trainee's request of defeating the Orc Lord and dispatches Sawe to talk to the Lizardmen ruler about forming an alliance with them in order to defeat the orcs together. Meanwhile, Gabiru is tricked by the words of Jelmad's messenger named Laplace, believing that he should be the actual leader of the Lizardmen. And following his advice, Gabiru starts a rebellion and usurps the leader's position forcefully. He leads the Lizardmen and the Goblins into a full frontal attack on the orcs, unaware of the Orc Lord's actual power, even though the leader begs his people not to engage in battle with the orcs until Rimuru's crew arrives. When Rimuru's crew comes across Gabiru's little sister, she tells them about Gabiru's rebellion against the leader, and begs them to save the leader and their fellow Lizardmen. Gabiru and his group are cornered after one of the soldiers is eaten by the orcs, and the orcs then obtain the abilities of the Lizardmen. To protect his people and the goblins he brought along with him, Gabiru battles the orc general by himself. Meanwhile, Trainee locates and attacks Jelmud and Laplace using her skills, thus forcing them to leave the forest. Just when Gabiru is about to be killed, Ranga and Gobta show up, saving him from the orc general, while Shion, Benimaru, and Hakiru fight the orc army, completely overpowering them. Following the gang's victory over the orc general and the majority of the orc army, Rimuru finally goes to face off against Geld, who is the Orc Lord, while Sawe goes to rescue the Lizardmen leader. But suddenly, Jelmud appears in a rage and declares that he was the one who created the Orc Lord to turn into a new Demon Lord, and Rimuru's army were in the way. But Jelmud is then killed and devoured by Geld after failing to defeat Rimuru. This causes him to evolve, and Geld changes into the Demon Lord Orc Disaster, which is so powerful that even the Kijins are unable to defeat. Rimuru, who is aware of Geld's powers, has the Great Sage take possession of his body in order to fight against him. However, during their fight, Geld also obtains fire resistance after getting hit by Rimuru's skills. Rimuru takes back control of his body, and the two compete to see who can devour the other first. Rimuru learns that Geld was trying to find a solution to the famine that hit his village due to which his people were suffering. But he was tricked by Jelmud into becoming a Demon Lord in order to protect his people from dying. Rimuru promises to devour Geld's body along with the sins of all the orcs so that they can all continue to live peacefully from now on. Rimuru completely devoured Geld, and the orcs were freed from the effects of the skill starved. After the fight ends, the Kijins finally decide to continue serving under Rimuru. At the meeting to discuss the aftermath of the war, Rimuru establishes the Jura Forest Alliance to allow Lizardmen, Goblins, and Orcs to coexist together peacefully. According to the alliance established, Lizardmen will provide fish, Goblins will provide shelter, Rimuru's town will provide raw materials and canned goods, and Orcs will provide labor work. They all agree to the decision, and Rimuru becomes the alliance leader as everyone bows down to him in respect. Rimuru bestows the name Geld to the son of the Orc Lord, transforming him into the Orc King. He also names the other orcs, evolving them into High Orcs. The Lizardman leader is also named as Abaru by Rimuru. Gabiru is later exiled from the Lizardmen village, and he sets out on a journey with his fellow Lizardmen. 3 months after the war has ended, Dwargen King Gazel and his army arrive in the Goblin village, and the king challenges Rimuru to a duel in order to learn the truth about him. After Rimuru manages to successfully block all of his strikes, Gazel declares that the fight is over. While praising Rimuru about his sword skills, he learns that both of them share the same sword master, Hakiru. Gazel finally accepts that Rimuru is not an evil monster, and after a brief discussion, he proposes a peace treaty between their two countries. Hence the monster country, named Jura Tempest Federation, was officially recognized. Gazel returns again, just 2 days after making an alliance with Rimuru, and this time accompanied by Vesta, who apologizes to Rimuru and Kaijin for all the troubles he caused in the past and begins working for them as a researcher in the village. The Lizardmen group, that included the Gabiru's group and his sister's group, arrived at Jura Tempest Federation in order to gain experience and serve under Rimuru. Thus Rimuru's new subordinates include Gabiru and his sister, as well as several more Lizardmen that evolve into Dragonutes after Rimuru names them. When the Demon Lords get the news of Rimuru defeating the Orc Lord, Milim Nava, one of the Demon Lords, comes to the Jura Forest in order to confront Rimuru. Although Ranga and the Kijins come to defend Rimuru, fearing for their master's safety, they're unable to do anything against her overwhelming power, and they all get defeated very easily. Rimuru, knowing that he won't be able to defeat Milim using power, he stops her by putting honey in her mouth. Since she had never tasted honey before, Milim agrees to call this fight a draw in return for more of that sweet stuff. After talking and getting to know each other, Milim and Rimuru quickly become friends. And she decides to live with Rimuru in the village. Everyone in the village cheers for their friendship, and they are happy since Milim will no longer fight them. But, despite their happiness, Rimuru's council is concerned about Milim and Rimuru's new friendship, since the other demon lords may see it as a danger to their own balance of power. Few days have passed, and after working tirelessly, Vesta is finally able to create a full potion that is equivalent to Rimuru's potions. This motivates Rimuru to arrange large quantities of these potions for the city and trade them in order to grow the funds of Jura Federation. Just then, Phobio, a beast keeper of the demon lord Carrion, and his group arrive at the Jura Federation, and they try to take control of the village, even attacking Rigard, who was trying to handle the situation. But he was no match for Milim, as she immediately defeats him and knocks him down for hurting her bestie's underlings. Just then, Rimuru arrives and stops Milim, and proceeds to settle the conflict with Phobio and his group diplomatically. He warns them not to cause disturbance in their country, as it could lead to a war between the Jura Tempest and the Beast Kingdom. Later, the Border Survey Corps, led by a man by the name of Yam, joined Iren's party in order to fight off against a giant spider attacking them in the forest of Jura when suddenly Gobta appears to kill the giant spider. After safely defeating the spider, the Survey Corps and Iren's party arrive at the Tempest Federation. As the discussions about the monster country proceeds, Rimuru requests the Survey Corps to claim credit for defeating the Orc Lord in exchange for information and support. After thinking for a while, Yam finally decides to follow Rimuru and believe in his words. Meanwhile, Tyr, a member of the moderate Harlequin troop, is dispatched to resurrect Charybdis by the demon lord Clayman, who is interested in its power. Thus, two of Clayman's henchmen, Tyr and Footman, visit Phobio just when he is fuming about his loss against the demon lord Milim. Tyr and Footman are able to trick and persuade Phobio to become a demon lord so that he can exact revenge on Milim. According to them, Phobio just needs to transfer control of his body and mind and let Charybdis possess him. Without any hesitation, he agrees to the plan and proceeds to break the seal on Charybdis. Trya, a sibling of Traini, alerts Rimuru about the resurrection of Charybdis, and now it's heading towards the forest of Jura. According to the information, the mindless beast of the heavens, Charybdis is only interested in wreaking havoc since it was created from a cloud of Veldora's magicules. The Charybdis is moving towards the Jura forest after gathering 13 megalodons from the spirit world to join in its rampage. The Dworgen Empire warriors and Rimuru's army get ready for combat. Dworgen warriors and Rimuru's men are able to kill the megalodons one after another pretty easily using their skills and tactics. But they fail in their full-scale attack on Charybdis as it overpowers them, defeating Sawe and Xian in the process. Rimuru protects them just in time and then proceeds to fight against the Charybdis by himself. After facing Charybdis on his own, Rimuru learns that its target is actually Milim and that it has taken over Phobio's body for the resurrection. Thus Rimuru asks Milim fight against it. Milim easily defeats the Charybdis in a single attack while saving Phobio's life at Rimuru's request. And Rimuru is able to separate Charybdis from Phobio and devour it. After the battle ended, Phobio is able to realize his mistakes and pleads responsibility for all the problems he created for Milim and the Jura Tempest Federation. When Traini approaches Phobio to ask about Charybdis and the incident, Rimuru and the others eventually realize that Clayman and the Harlequin troop members, Laplace, Tyr, and Footman were the source of all their recent problems. Just then, Demon Lord Carrion arrives and thanks Rimuru for saving Phobio's life. After hearing to Rimuru's request, he agrees to a non-aggression treaty between Jura Tempest Federation and the Beast Kingdom. The fight is over, and people are enjoying the megalodon fillets that are served as a victory celebration in the city, while the dwarf brothers are planning out their future inventions using the shells of Charybdis. That night, in a dream that Rimuru had, Shizu regrets not being able to help her students, the 5 children who were summoned into this world, and requests Rimuru once again to save them. Soon after the dream, Ranga and Rimuru visit the kingdom of Ingracia, and Rimuru is shocked by the level of architecture in that country. There he meets Yuuki Kagurazaka, the grandmaster who is in charge of the kids. Yuuki attacks Rimuru thinking he is the one that killed Shizu, after Rimuru reveals that he is a slime that can mimic the creatures he devours. But after things cool down and they discuss what had happened to Shizu, Yuuki realizes that Rimuru is not an evil being, and they both become friends. Yuuki explains to Rimuru that, while the two of them are reincarnated from the other world, the students that are summoned were different from them, as they are summoned to serve as weapons for the country. But if the summoning ritual fails, then the summoned beings die in approximately 5 years. After discussing, Rimuru is given the permission to instruct and help Shizu's students, who are young children filled with excessive energy which is supposed to kill them in 5 years. Rimuru promises to find a solution to save them in order to respect Shizu's request. We are introduced to Shizu's students: Kenya Misaki, Ryuta Sekaguchi, Gail Gibson, Alice Rondo, and Chloe Aubert. But after entering the class, Rimuru is shocked by how naughty the students are. They do not show any respect towards Rimuru and continue to trouble him. Therefore, Rimuru uses a series of duels to demonstrate the difference in ability between him and Shizu's students in order to win their respect. Kenya uses fire magic. Chloe uses water magic. Gail shoots magic bullets. Alice uses puppetry to control toys and attack him. And Ryuta employs physical augmentation to fight. But all of them get defeated pretty easily. Thus they surrender and acknowledge Rimuru as their sensei. And in return, Rimuru promises to save all of them, no matter what effort it takes. Rimuru thought, since Shizu was summoned as a child but survived to adulthood, maybe because Ifrit was possessing her body. Thus Rimuru goes to training with the hope that the kids will survive if they are inhabited by the superior spirits just like Shizu. Although, Trainee points him in the direction of the dwelling of spirits. Since the Dryad's former master, the Queen of Spirits, has passed away, they have lost their connection to it and are unaware of the different entry points available for the cave. Next day, while having a picnic with the students, Rimuru and the group see a sky dragon flying towards the capital. As the dragon might attack the capital and its residents, Rimuru flies off after the dragon in order to stop it. Rimuru orders Ranga to stay with the students while he attacks the sky dragon. He devours the dragon and its attacks pretty easily with gluttony, saving the civilians nearby. Rimuru and the students are then invited to a dinner by Milemeyer, a traitor who was saved by him during the sky dragon attack and wants to pay gratitude to Rimuru. During their discussion, Rimuru invites Milemeyer to visit the Tempest Federation to assist with the sale of their goods. Since Milemeyer is aware of who Rimuru is, he agrees to the proposal. After dinner, as they are about to leave, one of the servants prays to the Queen of Spirits for the protection of the kids. Rimuru is shocked to hear her talk about the Queen of Spirits. She then reveals to a dumbfounded Rimuru that she is from a village close to the spirit dwelling and she can show him the way to enter the dwelling of the spirits. Rimuru tips her heavily after getting the direction to get to the spirit dwelling, and immediately travels there with Ranga and the kids. When Rimuru, Ranga, and the students first enter the dwelling of spirits, a spirit tests them by challenging them to combat a huge metal golem. However, Rimuru completely obliterates the golem with his skills, Arcane Thread and Hell Flare, and forces the spirit to reveal herself since he can already sense her position. Scared of Rimuru's threats, the spirit quickly reveals herself. But she is such a cute little creature, no one actually believes when she claims herself to be Ramirez, the Queen of Spirits, as well as a demon lord. While talking to her, she mentions about Leon Cromwell, the person who summoned Shizu, was once a hero who fell from grace and turned into a demon lord. After hearing to their situation and understanding the problems the kids were facing, Ramirez agrees to help Rimuru to summon superior spirits. But in exchange for that, Rimuru has to create her a new golem. They arrive at the spirit dwelling with Ramirez. Gail, Alice, and Ryuta, Kenya, and Chloe start praying. Even though their prayers are answered, Gail, Alice, and Ryuta were only able to conjure a variety of inferior spirits. Rimuru absorbs the inferior spirits and transforms them into 3 new superior spirits that are compatible with their bodies, and they are successfully possessed. Gail receives the artificial superior spirit of Earth. Alice receives the artificial superior spirit of Space. Ryuta receives the artificial superior spirit of water and wind. Whereas, Kenya calls forth and receives the superior spirit of light to possess him. But when Chloe prays to the spirits, huge spiritual pressure starts building up, and Veldora reacts to the appearance of an unknown spirit-like entity. The spirit flies towards them and kisses Rimuru. Despite Ramirez's efforts of stopping it, since she believes the spirit might be dangerous, it somehow manages to possess Chloe. Even though the situation became awkward during the end, Rimuru is happy since the lethal energy inside the kids has subsided, due to which they want Dai of the summoning energy anymore. As promised, Ramirez receives a brand new golem from Rimuru, and he names the golem as Beretta. After bidding farewell, Rimuru and the group return back to Ingracia. Since Yuuki believes it is unlikely that the countries that abandoned the kids will try to take them back again, they can lead a normal life now. Rimuru keeps his strategy of fusing the kids with superior spirits, a secret from Yuuki in order to keep the children safe. When Rimuru considers about the previous 2 years and claims that all of their issues have been resolved. While bidding farewell, he gives Shizu's magicule suppressing mask to Chloe, believing that it's for the best. Unknown to Rimuru, we see a suspicious woman who is following him.
If you have enjoyed the video so far, be sure to like and comment down below if you want the continuation of this anime. Check out our channel for more amazing content. Until the next video, stay safe and thank you for watching.